Cody Alexander, Match Quarters here with another episode of the Art of X Show. Today I'm breaking down the week 2 game with the Cowboys and the Bengals. I thought the Cowboys did a great job. Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator, calling a great game. Now, obviously, the Bengals offensive line is a hot mess. They spent a ton of money on it in the offseason. It hasn't really panned out for them in the first 2 weeks. Burrow has been sacked an ungodly amount of times. Micah Parsons is an absolute beast as a defensive end. He's one of the best pass rushers, if not the best pass rusher in the NFL. Going up against him was not fun for the Bengals, but a lot of it had to do with the kind of the evolution of Dan Quinn, which we're going to get into very briefly, and then I'm going to get into some film. He's a Pete Carroll disciple. What does that mean? Heavy cover 3 when he was in Atlanta. Heavy cover 3. You knew exactly what you were getting. You knew exactly what was coming. And in today's game, you can't do that anymore. And so when he came to the Cowboys, what did he do? He still ran primarily middle of the field close, but it was leaning heavy on cover 1. So I'm sitting here last year, everybody's talking about, oh man, look at all this different stuff that Dan Quinn's doing. I'm looking at the film and I'm not seeing it. Cover 1 and cover 3 to me are almost the exact thing. If you run match 3, and I'm not talking country cover 3, because obviously country cover 3 and cover 1, two completely different things. One's playing man, one's just spot drop into an area. But if you play a lot of match 3 and you play a lot of cover 1, it's going to be hard to tell what that's happening, because even in cover 1, you're going to have switches, right? If two receivers are close together, we're going to banjo this, we're going to do this, we're going to talk about it. Okay. So to me, 67% middle of the field close, that's not changing a lot. What was interesting last year was the fact that he moved people around. Primarily, Micah Parsons kind of did some different things. You know, in that Pete Carroll system, everybody has a role, right? You play that role, and you don't play any other role, and we don't kind of move guys around. And so what I thought last year, I'm like, okay, I think there's a little bit of a hype train going on. I don't necessarily see it. The first 2 weeks of the season, I get it. The evolution is there. He taught his defense last year. He figured out who could do what, where people could play. Now we're starting to see the manipulation. Now, you go and you look at their stats for this year. It's 55% middle of the field close. Okay, that's a big jump from 67%. And look, I know we got a small sample size. I know it's only week 2. If you go and you look at what he did with the Buccaneers, again, the Buccaneers are run heavy. Okay, so they played a lot of cover 3, but then you look at it, jumps to 40% in the middle field open versus Cincinnati. This is a throwing team. He felt like they could control the front line. And so what you see is this evolution of, we're not going to necessarily be one thing every single week. Now we're starting to see week 1, we were this, week 2, we were this. And so what that does to offenses is that you have no idea now what Dan Quinn is thinking. You know, it's nice when you're the offensive coordinator and you go out there and you're like, oh, okay, I know that in 2x2, I'm going to get this. In 3x1, I'm going to get this. If we motion this guy, that guy's going to go with him. Oh, they're in man coverage. How can we manipulate the man coverage, or how can we get it to where we can isolate a guy depending on where he is? Once you see this, and what I'm going to break down is 5 different plays of where it looks like middle of the field close. It looks like, okay, they're playing a lot of the same things that they were last year. So my film study from last year isn't lying to me, but then post snap, they're changing it to a middle field open, which again, Joe Burrow holds on to the ball and he has a lot of sacks. And so when you have a guy like Micah Parsons and you can dominate the offensive line, you think you can win those one-on-one matchups. This is a great game to help him hold on to that ball a little bit longer by changing the coverage contour post snap. And so I'm going to illustrate that in 5 plays here in just a second. There is movement to more diverse coverage base. You can't just be a one-trick pony. And now I know that we look at it and we see, okay, the past 2 years, everybody's been talking about the Fangio system, too high, but they're really running middle of the field close. But what you're seeing more and more, and we started seeing this trend last year, is people are actually running cover 2 and they're actually running quarters a lot more often. And the reason why is because you can cap verticals. You're getting a lot of these pushes vertical. They're running guys underneath. And what you're able to do in that sense is cap everything and work top down on that and really rally. It's a bend, don't break. And look, we've seen this in college for almost a decade now, is that, look, if we have a top offense, I only need to be in the top third defensively to be a Super Bowl contender or to be a playoff contender in college football. If I have an elite offense, all I need on the other side is just give me a top 30 defense in college. And in the NFL, it's like, just give me 12, 10, 9. If you can get me close to the top 10, then now we're cooking with gas. Now we've got a team that can actually go do something. So when you feel like you have an offense like the Cowboys, for instance, that they feel like, okay, we can be something offensively. Now, I know it fell short last year and Dak's hurt now. So now that defense is ramping up. But if you're seeing more and more of these defenses, and I think of kind of the Bills are a good example of this. They have an unbelievable D-line. They run a lot of just basic coverage schemes on the back end. So you're not going to get busted, right? You're not going to get these just huge busts. We're not going to, and it's eliminating fatals. And then we're just going to let the offense go win games for us, right? We're not going to lose the game. And I think, and I experienced this when I worked at Baylor, was, look, we know we're going to score about 40 points a game. All we got to do is just don't lose the game. Get a couple stops, let them pile it on. If we can get on early, the other team will quit, and it makes our life a lot easier. So I think there's more move to a diverse coverage base, because even mediocre quarterbacks in the NFL can look at that. Look at this coverage contra. Okay, I know I'm getting cover 3. So changing it post-snap, I call that passive pressure, where you're not necessarily bringing a blitz to force the quarterback's issue. Right now, you're changing the way. And I've got it. The second clip I'm going to show you is a run, but it illustrates what a quarterback has to deal with if it were to be play action. Dallas, their front four was able to win with pressure, which allows, again, you to have more coverage. Okay, it's simple math, right? The offense can only give out 5 guys. If I've got 7 guys in coverage, now I've got 2 more than they do. I'm +2 in coverage, right? And who cares if they've got 5? They leave a tight end in, they leave a running back in, they've got 6 guys. But if my 4 can beat their 6, which is what happened in Dallas this past weekend, then I'm winning in the back end. The other thing is, and you're seeing this a lot, they're talking about the quarterback spread, right? Where are these quarterbacks throwing? Mahomes' heat map last year was very indicative. Everything is in front and underneath at about 10 yards. Nothing is going down the field. Well, why is nothing going down the field? It's because they're playing a lot of quarters coverage, playing a lot of middle of field open coverage, playing a lot of more Tampa. So what you're seeing is all these quarterbacks are looking deep. Okay, I'm sitting here, I can't see anything. Check down, rally to the ball. And when we're playing zone coverage, we have eyes on the ball and everybody can get to it. So I think that this is a trend that we're going to see. And again, it's a philosophy switch to, you win championships with defense in the NFL. No more. You win championships in the NFL with an elite offense and a pretty good defense. And if you can get both of those going together, you're probably going to win more games than you lose. And at the end of the day, it's about forcing the quarterback to hold on to the ball, let your elite defensive end get there and get the tackle, which is exactly what the Cowboys did. They forced Burrow to hold on the ball and take the sack, and he took multiple sacks. So I know you're tired of hearing me talking. Let's get to the film. So let's go through. I've got 5 plays. I want to go through this. I thought the Cowboys did an excellent job of changing the coverage contours post-snap, forcing Burrow, who already holds the ball a little bit longer than normal. He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL. The longer you can get that quarterback to hold against a bad offensive line that the Bengals have had in the past 2 weeks, you have essentially really good rushers with Parsons for the Cowboys. This creates a lot of havoc for the Cowboys by doing this. Now, last year, again, they ran a ton of cover 1. So what you're going to see is a lot of cover 1 looks, pre-snap, snapping to middle of the field open, post-snap. So right here, the Bengals are going to get into a 3-by-1 with a tight end in the slot. The Cowboys are going to show pressure. What they're going to look like is cover 1. Okay, you've got your inside linebacker mugged with the load side. You've got Micah Parsons on the edge outside of the tight end. You see this a lot in the NFL because the wider that guy can get, that makes that tackle set even further out. So it isolates that tackle, allowing a guy like Parsons to give an up and under where he can get corrected by that 3 technique or what we have right here in a 5. So you've got a load front look with a double mug on the both those backers. Everybody looks like they're going to be in cover one. Everybody's in their cover one stance, and you look like you have a middle of the field close safety. So once you go post snap, what's going to happen is the Cowboys are going to snap to a cover two look. You're going to get the DB on top of the tight end as the pull runner. Both corners are going to play what I call hard. They're going to give a hard technique, and then they're going to kind of slough off as they trail through that. Your nickel is going to give you a pop out, and then your safety that's cheating to the middle of the field. Notice how he hasn't crossed the hash. And I know that it's not that big of a deal in the NFL, but notice how he hasn't crossed the hash. He's not in the island. He's not in the middle of the field. And so then he will pop out and he will work towards a single receiver. Now you have Jamar Chase as that single receiver. So he doesn't want to necessarily cheat all the way over into the middle of the field and really kind of get it. He's gonna cheat a little bit further to that. So as the play runs, you can see right now we're getting the pop out. The Cowboys felt like they could really just rush forward, and they could. They got a lot of play off of a four-man rush. When you can get that play off of a four-man rush, then you've got your full coverage palette, and you can do whatever you want in coverage. So notice how we've got both of these corners right here, outside leverage, eyes looking inside. He's stagnating this by just sitting on top of him. He's not necessarily with the hard technique. He's working that low hip, forcing him. Notice how that safety has got his eyes directly there, and he's working to the deep half. We've got the pole runner right here. He's got his eyes on the tight end. The nice thing about this that I really like is as the pole runner, yes, you have to relate to three, but knowing that Parsons is there, we're probably going to get a chip off of that tight end, that he doesn't have to necessarily work back inside of number three, that he's really there to cut off any access here. We've got a double up top, so he doesn't have to open up to the single receiver side. He's not worried about the running back going vertical and working into the middle of the field. So you have what I call a wall two player, and you have a high hole player running through the pole. Now he pushes, so he's going to sit. The safety is going to now kind of squat and nail down on this. You've got a double here in the window. You've got him leveraging this. Now, remember, it's a 3rd and 6, so he doesn't have to nail down on anything low. I call that a cough technique, curl over flat. We want to let the ball bring us down. And then you have, again, an outlet over here. All he has to do is leverage that and be able to make a tackle. He's got his eyes on there, too, again, to make that tackle if that ball is out. And what we end up getting is the pressure gets to Burrow. Notice how everybody's essentially covered. And then you get the sack by the Cowboys. All right, let's go to the next play. Again, 3rd and 13. This is where you saw a lot of these pop outs. Again, you're going to see a lot of guys at the front of the line. Now they're showing zero coverage. So in this look, they're giving everybody the appearance that we're playing zero coverage. Now, if you noticed on the other one, okay, it's 3rd and 6. The corners are up tight, especially the one on the single receiver. Why are they not doing this? Well, one, it's 3rd and 13. So you don't want to press and give a quick fade throw to the quarterback on 3rd and 13, especially in what you've given in a zero presentation. You also are going to play sticks. So this is catch coverage by the sticks when you're playing this zero coverage. The safety in the middle is going to take the back, and he's just working off the back. But if the back stays in and blocks, now you've got what I would call a cheat post. He's going to just cheat to the post. So he's got the running back man-to-man. Now he's going to cheat post. Now, remember, this is all an illusion, right? They're going to put everybody on the line of scrimmage. The running back now has stepped up into the middle. So what they're doing protection-wise is the center's going to take one of those linebackers. The running back is going to take the other one. And now it looks like zero coverage. Once we get to post-snap, it's all going to morph and change. So post-snap, all we're going to get is another Tampa 2 look. These corners are going to hinge and squat. Hinge and squat, you get another pop out, and you get another pop out. These guys are going to race to the numbers, race to the deep third. And then because you have this guy right here at about 10 to 12 yards, he's just going to walk down to about 10 yards and just squat. He's just going to wait for anything to come into the middle. And if he needs to work vertically, he can work vertically. So watch how this works. We're going to get the 4-man rush again. We get the pop out. We're playing games up here. Okay. Notice how he's sitting. He's working vertically. He hasn't even moved. He gets a sit down, which means that's a flat indicator. So anytime that you just get a guy that just turns and sits, it's a flat indicator. We would teach that just like that's an out route. And so now he's going to trigger down on that. You've got the safety leveraging this. You've got your 2 wall 2 players as they go. Okay. He throws it out quickly. You know, to me, that's what you see here is, if you go back to the very beginning, is the illusion of pressure. He's off. So they've already tagged this. They, as the Bengals, have already tagged this. Hey, I'm just going to sit here. Give me the ball quickly. I'll make a play with my legs. Let's hope we get there. They've been struggling, right? They can't block anybody. Let's get this ball out quickly, but we can't run a screen. And so what you end up getting is the quick turn and throw, rally, corner makes a good tackle, live to play another game. Again, another illustration of why you play top down on 3rd and long is because now I'm forcing those low throws, and now I can get everybody to rally, especially when we're not really playing zero coverage. All right, 3rd example, this is going to be a 2nd and 5. This is in the 3rd quarter. Okay, so we've already had halftime. We get some motion. What I like about this is that you see, okay, it looks like man. So if I go any pre-snap read, it looks like man, or it looks like, okay, we're matching up. Now what we've got is a 3 buzz look. Okay, we're spinning to. We're going to spin hard down to the speed side. We've got the linebacker on the tight end. I've got my Mike. I've got my nickel up here close. He's going to slough off here. He's going to drop. He's going to nail down into the hook. And then I've got my middle field safety. What's going to end up happening is we're going to play cover 2. So we're going to play triangle coverage over here, and we're going to play triangle coverage over here. And then I've got a pole runner. Notice how he's deep. He's at 6 yards. That allows him to see everything before he drops. You know, that's one of the major issues with Tampa coverage, especially on early downs. 2nd and 5 is a rundown. It's a 50-50 down in the NFL. So what you don't want is your Mike linebacker bailing to the pole, and then, oh, I've got to go fit the run, because this is a condensed set. This is a team that has a good running back that can run the ball, and so you don't want to necessarily do that. So again, we get the run, right? So we've shown cover 1, and I just wanted to use this run as a way to illustrate how these coverage rotations can work. So if this were to have been a play action pass, because they do this, right? What Burrow sees right now is, okay, they're going to spin to the speed. I feel like I've got cover 3. As we go through this, notice his back is now turned. And I've talked about this before with play action, and this is why I use this play in this, is that if this were to be play action, once Joe Burrow does the fake, right now, as he snaps his eyes, he's got to readjust where everybody is. The other nice thing about this is that now you have 2 hard corners to play against the run, and we end up getting a tackle, and now it's a 3rd and short. But this is another illustration. I felt like putting this in there so that you can kind of see how the contours change post snap. So had this have been play action, he now has to adjust his coverage to then find his vision to figure out what the coverage is. Okay, we've got a 3-by-1. Notice this looks like this is going to be what a lot of people call this 1 lurk, 1 cross. So it looks like cover 1, everybody's nice up and tight. It looks like it appears, okay, they're going to be doubling the tight end because you have man here. You have him on an outside alignment. It looks like he could rush. You have him stacking the back. kind of in a flat foot. You've got him mugged up. So what you're trying to create, and this is what the Cowboys are doing, is we look like we're in man coverage, but he looks like he might be able to rush the ball. Okay, he looks like he's stacked the back. He's mugged, but he could have the back, and they could play a game with him. Where's everybody going? He's middle of the field, but hey, he's also low enough and wide enough that he could pop out. So when you have the quarterback and he's scanning, he's looking at all these things and he's trying to ID it, right? You start with the boundary safety and you work out. Everything here to me is telling me it's man coverage. Okay, so, and they're probably going to double the tight end. Now, this is where it gets clever. They're going to run a too high shell, but it's almost going to function like two man with a drop 8. Now, they're not going to run deep half with the front side safety. It's actually cover 1 with a bracket to the boundary. They're actually going to roll. It's going to look like a 3 cloud. So they're going to roll and bracket Jamar Chase. Now, as we get here, we have a spy in the middle. It's a drop 8. The linebacker adds in. And look, because you've got the 2 spies, he can't go anywhere. They're running man coverage. So everybody's blanketed. His number 1 receiver is doubled. He's got nowhere to go. And the Cowboys were even able to get this off of a 3-man rush. So once that running back sits in there, now you have a linebacker. You already have a spy. They're trying to flush the quarterback out anyway. So once he tries to step up in the pocket, your spy comes, and you also have that added value of that green dog linebacker who sees his running back block, and now he just adds into it. So we've already seen where they've gone cover 2. Now we get a little bit of a variation of a cover 1. It's kind of like a 2-man, but they're rolling to Chase, and then you can see where that safety in the middle, once he kind of rolls that way, he sees, okay, I'm going to pop back out and see if I can't help anybody else. So nice job by them showing something and then rolling to something different post snap. All right, last one here. Again, we get a 3-by-1. We're getting a double mug. So what their check to that was to put the running back there. It looks like cover 1 again. Again, remember, the Cowboys ran a ton of cover 1 last year. They run a lot of cover 3, primarily versus the Buccaneers, but it was kind of like a 50-50 deal. They ran a lot of middle of the field open, so they've kind of changed and morphed the way that their coverage is. They were really relying on cover 1. What we're going to get here is we're going to get a Tampa. So we're showing cover 1, and all of a sudden he's going to pop to the pole, deep half, squat, and then we've got our 2 wall 2 players, and they're just going to let the 4 D linemen do what they do. Okay. And so this ends up getting batted down. But again, he feels Micah Parsons, right? And so he's like, I got to get this ball out. He has a guy open, but it ends up getting batted down. But you can see here how you've got the cover 2 corner up top. He's got his eyes inside. Okay. He's jamming. And he's looking at the quarterback too. That's why he worked to the pipe. So again, a lot of coverage changes post snap by the Cowboys. I thought they did an excellent job versus the Bengals. I would assume that a template like this going forward is going to be what you see defending the Bengals. They've got a lot of issues on that front line that they're going to have to figure out. The Cowboys were able to get pressure with 4. Burrow was a lot of his coverage indicators early looked like cover 1, and then it would morph into some sort of a 2 high shell post snap, primarily on 3rd down. But as I illustrated, they were even doing that on some early downs just to change up the look and just to really apply what I call passive pressure on the quarterback, making him do mental gymnastics in the middle of the play when you've got a guy like Micah Parsons, who's one of the best edge rushers in the NFL right now, who's essentially annihilating their offense line. So again, thought they did a great job. This is something to look forward to. If the Cowboys defense can continue to play like they have in the past 2 weeks, this is a team that could hold on until Dak gets back and then really be a contender. You know, everybody looked at the East as kind of a joke going into the season, but it looks like the Cowboys could end up being kind of one of those challenges to the Eagles as we go forward into the season. So again, watch this. This is a template for a lot of these NFL teams that are starting to use show middle of the field close coverage, pop out to middle of the field open. We've seen the reverse in the past couple seasons with the kind of the Fangio system, the Rams and Brandon Staley running a lot of too high, but running a lot of middle of the field close coverage. So now we're starting to see the opposite with a lot of these teams that have been primarily middle of the field close presentation, now starting to pop out and make these quarterbacks work post snap, running more and more middle of the field open. Thanks again for joining me on another episode of the Art of X Show. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at @the_coach_A. As always, subscribe to the Match Quarter Substack, where I'm writing an article every week. I'm detailing what are the defensive trends coming on in the NFL and at the college level. Thank you for joining me today and coming and learning the Art of X.